What is up, ladies and gents? Welcome to the weekly Square Gamers podcast where average dudes talk video games. And I'm your host, Mike Soto. We got Pedro Mirabal along with us, and it's your boy, good old Undead J. Guys,
First of all, hold on. First of all, I'm above average, sir. Or at least I've been told I'm above average. Second of all, shout out to my wife. I just secured myself a new job working for UPS permanently. So she surprised me with a trip to Cocoa Beach. So right now, I'm calling in live from Cocoa Beach, guys. How cool is that?
Are you really in Cocoa Beach, bro?
Yeah, bro. I am beachside. We got a beachfront hotel right next to the pier. So that is my backdrop as we do this this podcast.
Damn, bro. I'm kind of jealous right now because I gotta be back at work in the morning.
Not I, sir.
But you guys excited to actually, after the dust settles from the Nintendo presentation or the conference, are we ready to let our feelings out after we let it marinate a little bit? Because I am.
Dude,
I'm
the
stoked
dust
for
is
that.
settled. Yeah, man, I'm ready to talk about it some now that I've slept on it.
Okay, so we're gonna go right into it. Now, the conference itself. Now, are you guys more yay or nay with it? Because it was a Nintendo conference at that. Like, it was literally a Nintendo conference. They're like the hipsters of the group. Like, they're the guys that do things differently than everyone else do. Are you guys in agreement with this? What are you guys thinking about this?
I think that it's, pretty much typical Nintendo, the same Nintendo that we've seen over the last 20 years. Nothing really has changed here. I still think that, the way they should handle reveals in the future is maybe like a Nintendo Direct. Whenever you have somebody trying to translate what they're saying, it always comes out very awkward. You can't really feel the overall emotion of the guy talking through a translator. And I feel like sometimes their conferences feel flat because of the translator.
Yeah.
I think that's why they got a lot of negative feedback from the conference itself. But I think that what was shown was actually pretty dope. But I'll get into that later. But that's my overall sentiment.
Well, yeah, and it's, I don't know if Pedro feels the same way, but literally the whole conference we were saying on how bad this translator was because, Japanese people, these Nintendo guys are full of energy. Well, most of them were full of energy. And the translator just reminds me of the guy from the Clear Eyes. Wow, guys, we have EA coming out right now, and it's just like, come on, bro, like, show some excitement. Don't be
that's a super good point because the guy on the stage, when they were doing the Splatoon reveal, he was very excited, but it just wasn't coming through with the translator. These translators, like, there's just no excitement to them, and I really think it brings the conference down. Maybe if they had a translator that was also, like a Nintendo fanboy, I feel like that would help their case.
What do you think, Pedro? Are you in agreement with us, or you see it from the total right side of the field?
First of all, congratulations on the new job. Also, congratulations on the special hotel trip. Thanks for joining us all the way from Cocoa Beach beachside. Jay, very happy to have you on here. A little sad that we couldn't get Nintendo Nane on here since this is a Nintendo focused podcast. But I think we'll make do. In terms of the conference, man, the conference was let me put this in a short, concise sentence. A waste of time. It was at 11 o'clock Eastern time. The only time I want to be up at 11 o'clock talking to you two is if we're playing video games. Not watching a simulcast Nintendo conference that is mainly in Japanese and translated by Ben Stein from the Clear Eyes commercial. Ridiculous. Shout out to Mike for the Clear Eyes commercial. Shout out. That was perfect. Bro. They better have fired those translators because they did a terrible job of, like Jay says, portraying the emotion that we're looking on, we were looking on screen. Jay is also correct. This should have been like a 45-minute Nintendo Direct, very concise. The emotion would have shown. They could have shown us everything that they did in a much easier way instead of trying to also entertain the crowd. They could have just given us the information that we were all yearning for the last 4 months of 2016. They did a terrible job of showing actual day one games. And oh my God, how many times were they going to snap their fingers and say, switch? That is terrible. Don't ever do that again, so Nintendo. Awkward. You wasted my time. You wasted everybody else's time. That should have been a Nintendo Direct that anybody could have watched at their leisure. Also, there was little to no Reggie feel and that was a mistake for us Americans that are used to seeing him talk about the products.
Well, the thing about Reggie is, I was just listening to an interview we had with a journalist, and the one thing about Reggie, to us at least, is when we think Nintendo, when we were kids, we picture him. He's been around for fucking ever, and being here on the west side of Nintendo's world, that's who we see. And I think he was only in like a 4-minute section at the very end talking about Zelda, which I don't think they could have got a better guy to do the Zelda reveal than Reggie. But at the end of the day, they didn't have enough Reggie. And the one thing that bothered me the most about this little conference is Nintendo. I understand what you're trying to do. You're trying to solidify the fact that you're having third-party support. Now, don't bring fucking head of EA on stage to tell us about FIFA coming to fucking Nintendo. Don't bring him up there to tell me without showing me any kind of footage. If the game isn't ready to be shown, don't bring him up there. That's another thing about Nintendo Direct. If they did a Nintendo Direct, that kind of messaging would come off a little bit better. They come off way too eager with this shit. Even when they brought out the guy from Studio 51, which I love Studio 51's games. But don't bring him up there to tell me about he's got a game in development.
Mike.
It's a waste.
Mike, let me cut in here on both your points because I think both of these are great points. First of all, when it comes to Reggie, whenever Nintendo has like some kind of conference coming up, all the memes that I see are Reggie like on the hype train. Like he is your poster boy for Nintendo. He is what your North American audience like. He's the poster boy, right? So he should have, took the helm on a lot of this conference. And I think that, by doing so, he would have given this conference the energy that it needed. And the second thing I want to hit on, what you were just saying was, remind me real quick, what was it you just said? The second thing?
The whole fact that they were bringing people up.
The FIFA.
Yeah, they're bringing people up to talk about games that they have in production, but no footage or nothing to show for it.
Yeah, I don't think that nobody is excited about a sports game. When they think of this Switch console, it's not like, oh, wow, I get to play, FIFA on the new Switch console. That's not the audience that this is really targeted at. Sure, there is an audience, but I just don't think it's the FIFA fans out there.
No, it's not so much the game itself. What I'm referring to is the fact that Nintendo has a bad rep. The 3DS, if it wasn't for the 3DS, Nintendo wouldn't be in the position they are. Same thing with Pokemon Go. Pokemon Go and Nintendo 3DS is what's keeping Nintendo on people's minds. Now, do not put people on the stage to give me empty promises. If there's no footage for the game isn't ready to be shown, don't talk about it. Don't show it to me. Yep. Don't bring some guy on stage for fucking 5 minutes to tell me about how good this FIFA game is going to be. I don't care. Why don't you move on to an actual game that's actually ready to be shown on the Switch? Because at the end of the day, Wii U was terrible. They had no third party support, which further in the podcast, I actually got to hear Reggie talk about third party support, which I think the way he brought it up to the journalists was an amazing way he did it. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But don't show us empty promises, because if we had to lean on empty promises, no one's gonna buy it, because everyone knows your reputation. The last a year and a half, 2 years with the Wii U was just terrible. We don't need that. Like Pedro and I talked about weeks over a month ago. Don't let us control your message, and that's what they did with that with the fact that they decided to show bring people on stage about talking about games they have in development. I digress. Anything else you guys want to talk about this conference? Because as you can tell, I'm a little hyped for this one.
I'm sure Pedro's got much more to say.
For the conference, I'm good. We can go ahead and move on to the actual meat and potatoes of this, man. We're bashing on Nintendo a lot for the presentation.
Meat potatoes. All right.
I feel like all
right, now, this is what's going to sell the console. This is, in my opinion, is probably the most part. Now, this is hit and miss for a lot of people, guys. Nintendo Switch, 6.2 screen, 6.2-point-inch screen, resolution 720. Apparently, when you put it in the dock, it's going to go up to 1080p, according to what they're saying. Now, the Switch does have speakers for stereo sound. Also has a jack. It has the battery 2.5 to 6 hours, which is completely bullshit. I don't trust it. The Joy-Con controllers are probably the coolest looking things. Now, they're supposed to last 20 hours on one charge. Now, the Switch has a 32-inch gigabyte internal storage, which is okay because they're allowing you to use the micro SD, and micro SD isn't it isn't that expensive, so you can expand your memory. Now, the coolest thing, in my opinion, is the USB-C port, which is going to be on the bottom of the Switch, where you're going to use for your charging devices. USB-C port, Pedro. What is it with the battery of this size? 2 to 6 hours. How long are we talking about charging? Maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours with the C port.
I mean, that really depends on the whether or not it has quick charge 3.0. For example, my Pixel uses a USB-C port. I can charge it in around 45 minutes to an hour, and it's got about a 3,500 milliamp hour battery. We're looking at a 4,300 milliamp hour battery, so maybe about an hour and a half, 2 hours, you'll get a full charge, but by at least 45 minutes you should be at like 60-70%, so you should be able to go to it from at least 0 to 60 with at around 45 minutes.
So the fact that the battery's so low and allowing USB-C it's a good thing. I'm glad they did that because the charge times won't be as bad. And then we talk about the Switch dock. Now, they're supposed to have, a bunch of USB ports, HDMI, in and out, power, and all that good stuff. Now, what bothers me is the size of the screen. Okay, so not a lot of people realize, or I don't know if people are actually thinking about it, 6.2 inch. Now, we're talking like a quarter of an inch, if that, bigger than a Note 7 screen. Now, your Pixel, Pedro, is what, a 5.5, right?
Yeah.
So we're talking the screen's actually relatively small, right? 6.2 inch is not very big.
It's a little bit bigger than my Pixel. In comparison, just so you guys know, anybody who has a Wii U controller, it's the size of that Wii U controller.
Okay, so I mean, but at the end of it, what bothers me about that is they're pushing the fact that you can mount it and play with two people on a fucking on an iPhone 7s or the Wii U bottom screen. Like, I'm looking at this like, okay, I'm not going to use this portable. Like, the screen, it granted is bigger than a 3DS, but the 3DS is comfortable. 6.2 inch screen, looking at it, hunched over with a controller in your hand or the Joy-Con controllers in your hand, I don't see that very much comfortable. So it's going to stay in the dock. And that's the only...
Can I cut in right
here? Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, because of my new job working for UPS, I'm going to be working long hours, like probably 60 hours a week, but I will get an hour lunch on the road every day. One of the biggest selling points for this console is the fact that on my lunch break, when I'm chilling in the truck, I can just put this thing up on my dashboard with the kickstand, grab my controllers, and then just grind out some Zelda or what have you. So, looking at it from a different perspective, like, that's one of the major selling points for me. But I agree, like, the screen does leave a little bit to be desired.
Well, and it's just because they're pushing it multifunction. In my opinion, if they want to do that kind of multifunction thing, well, with one person, it wouldn't be that bad. But when you're trying to fit two people to look in at the same screen, and it's only 6 inches, it's gonna be pains. It's gonna your shoulders are gonna hurt after a little bit. It doesn't seem very. I mean, they should have went with at least maybe like a Galaxy Tab ish type screen,
But
like a
then,
7.5 inch screen, just to where it feels.
At the same time, how often are you actually going to use the handheld that way? You know what I mean? Probably not too often.
Well, yeah, and exactly. I mean, that's why, in my opinion, the damn thing is going to stay docked for the simple reason that, Nintendo games are awesome, and what's a better way than playing it on your 47-inch 4K resolution TV? Like, that would be dope. So I don't think it's going to leave my dock. Now, Jay brings up a good point about, working working long hours, not having enough time to game. So this is good for Jay. But how many Americans actually handheld game other than road trips?
Yeah. I'm in the minority there for sure.
You know what I mean? What do you think, Pedro? You feel the same way as we do, because the screen relatively is small if you compare it to other screens, or to other devices.
I mean, yeah, it's not a typical tablet screen, and if you compare it to the rest of smart devices, this is definitely on the smaller end. But another thing that we haven't discussed is, okay, so yeah, you can dock it and you can play, that 2-player mode or whatever the case may be, but the size of the screen will also come into effect when you put the 2 Joy-Con controllers on each side, or the 1 Joy-Con controller on each side. Then it becomes, an 8-inch device. If you add another inch to that, make it, a 7.2 or maybe even an 8-inch screen, you're talking about having, a 10-inch of width that you're playing with. That's not very comfortable. So the 6.2 looks like it's gonna be the way it was made is just so it'll be more comfortable for you to play with.
Well, yeah.
The size of the screen isn't what I'm worried about. I'm more worried about the resolution, man. 720p. I haven't seen very many nice 720p screens that have a good color representation and aren't washed out. So I'm very eager to see what games look like on that. And I mean, the one statistic that really worries me is going to be the battery, man. The battery stats worry me a lot, just because they say you can play 3 hours of Zelda on this thing. But I mean, are those 3 hours with the brightness always on, completely on? Was it dim? I mean, what were the conditions in which this was tested on? Because I mean, I feel for Jay when Jay says he's going to be working 60 hours a week and he wants to game, so he's going to use the Switch as a primary mode of gaming. But I mean, God forbid he goes and tries to play this on his lunch break and he only gets 45 minutes of game time from this thing. That would be unacceptable.
I was gonna say, with an hour lunch break, bro, that'll be perfect. But you're not wrong. It probably will be somewhere around that. Like, Zelda's the perfect example. A game that's pumping out those AAA quality graphics. It's gonna really put that processor to the test. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we only get about an hour to an hour and a half worth of gameplay. On the resolution side of things, I think Mike will back me up on this. The PlayStation Vita had worse resolution than this, and I think some of those games on that handheld looked absolutely fantastic. Killzone Mercenaries being one of those games, and the fact that this will actually look better than those games, to me, in a handheld package, that's kind of saying a lot, man. Like, I'm not worried about the resolution at all. I think Nintendo did the perfect thing by kind of packing in good technology over, that graphical fidelity that we see out of the Xbox One and the PS4.
I mean, because, you bring up the Vita, and another thing people, we should realize about, handhelds was the Vita only got 3 hours of battery life. Now,
Right.
I've tested this myself with, when I had the Vita and I was playing Tokiden. I got Tokiden for the first time, Tokiden Kiwami, and I spent a good solid 2.5 hours, and then the Vita was dying. Now with Nintendo, doing this route with the 6.2-inch screen, and it's slightly, I want to say slightly bigger than the Vita screen. The battery life, I think it's going to always be a hindrance. If Nintendo wants to really be smart they'll go get with third party peripherals developers and come up with like maybe like a charging brick or like a handheld charging dock where people can charge their Switch on the move. Like say for instance you're on a long flight, you just plug it into the little block. Now granted I don't know how safe that will be, but if Nintendo's smart, they'll have something like that lined up, because Pedro brings up a good point. Like the 6.2 inch screen probably is 6.2 inch screen for the simple reason that comfortable. If it's a handheld, you want it to be comfortable. You don't want it to hurt your hands because it's not a controller. Controllers are like perfect, fitting your hands. They want the same concept with this. So I understand that point what Pedro brought up. But the battery is going to be a hindrance. Now 720p, playing Vita, yes, the Vita looked really good on certain games. Looked really good. I didn't get the chance to play Killzone, but on Tokiden Kwame, it looked fantastic. I played Sword Art Online on it. That wasn't that pretty. And then I also played some Marvel vs. Capcom game on there, and that looked really good too. So I'm with Jay. I'm too worried about the 720 or 720p because it's probably gonna look fucking good. I mean, granted, now the display, Pedro, the actual display, have they actually tell you, say what kind of display it is? Because all I know of it's that it's the captive display. Now, is that gonna hinder the color? Because you brought up the color blurring and fading and like smudging. Does the display really matter that much?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a capacitive display, which is the same thing that we all have on our phones, which means it's multi-touch. But I don't know what panel they used. I mean, hopefully they used, an LG or Samsung panel where the colors really pop and, there's a good representation. Especially with games like Mario and Zelda coming out that are really colorful. I would hate to be playing the game and the colors just be washed out. Because they skimped on the panel. When I meant that I was a little wary about the screen, I was talking so much about the 720p resolution, because you won't be able to tell the difference between 720p to 2K to 1080, or from 720 to 1080 to 2K on a 6.2 inch screen. But you will be able to tell if a color looks sharp if they're not using the right type of panel. So that's what I'm interested in.
Well, yeah, and I'm glad. I'm glad you brought that up, because you're the tech guy of the group, so you know all the in and outs about all this stuff. But as far as specs, I mean, that's what we got. Go ahead, Jay.
One thing on the specs that I want to hit on that we definitely cannot avoid this topic is SD card support, man. How huge is that, guys? One of the biggest missteps from the PlayStation Vita, and I hate to keep bringing that back up, but being that we are talking about two handhelds, even if one is a hybrid, the fact that this thing allows SD support is huge, and it can't be overlooked.
The thing about the Switch is this isn't a big deal. This is Nintendo. Nintendo's always allowed micro SD to be used on their handheld consoles. Ever since the actual 3DS or the 3DS, not the 2D. The 2DS didn't have micro, if I'm not mistaken, but the 3DS and then 3DXL, and ever since from the 3DS they allowed micro SD, which at the end of the day, a micro SD are rather inexpensive. I think like a 30 or 32 gig I seen at Walmart months ago was like $25. So I mean, and I'm pretty sure now if Pedro likes to correct me, you can probably get a terabyte micro SD for probably about $50-$60.
Maybe not right now.
I think that sounds about right.
Yeah,
and
I'm looking
another question to Pedro is a lot of people are talking about the fact that it's only got a 32 gig internal hard drive. Pedro, is this something that we should be concerned about, or not really? Like, I don't think games need to be downloaded onto the console itself, correct? Since it's using like a cartridge.
Well, no. The thing that makes this important is the promise of the Nintendo eShop coming to the Switch and allowing for backwards compatible with the 3DS games and games that are going to be available on the Switch from the 3DS. because they're talking about allowing, they're basically making a PSN or Xbox Live where everything's account based through all platforms: phone, 3DS, Wii U, and the Switch. And right now I'm looking at 200 gig micro SD for $70.
That's
Plenty.
legit.
I mean, that's plenty, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now we're gonna go on to probably the most interesting part for me, the games. Now,
Yeah, absolutely. This thing's gonna live or
on
die
games.
on the games that come on.
Okay, so
yeah.
so as of right now, we have five games on release. We have Zelda, 1-2 Switch, Just Dance 2017, Skylanders Imaginators, and Super Bomberman R. Now, looking at the initial releases, the only one that's pulling my eye is Zelda. So, are people going to buy the Switch for Zelda alone? No, I mean, this is $300 console, guys. So, do you think people other than fanboys are going to go out flocking to buy this console? Just off of that. Yo.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, now I can. Sorry, guys,
okay.
we got technical difficulty. Don't worry about cutting that out, guys. Just let it run through. Yeah.
My bad.
So, no, you're good, bro. Did you guys? Well,
hell
we'll
yeah,
go through it again.
is my answer, by the way. The Zelda game is a console seller through and through. People are gonna buy it. I've got no doubt about that. It's probably gonna be the only reason people buy this game on release is to play Zelda on it.
Oh, well, I mean that's yeah. I mean, I see where you're coming from. Jay. Now, post release. So these are games that are first party. Now we have Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Jay, I know you're a huge fan of Mario Kart. Are you excited for this? Because that's supposed to be coming out on the 28th of April, which is I mean, super cool. What do you think about that?
Bro, honestly, I'm not that excited really because that's a game that I played back on the Wii U. You know what I mean? Like what I would have liked to have seen is a Mario Kart 9. Like give me an updated, or I'm sorry, not an updated port. Give me an actual new game that's built for the Switch. Do not promise me all these Wii U ports that are coming over to Switch because that's not going to be what buys me over. Right now, when I'm looking at this console, the only game that's like striking me as like you need to buy this console is Zelda. But again, that's still a game that you can play on Wii U, and I think that's a huge problem for Nintendo to have because right now, myself, and I'm sure a lot of people out there are like me, I'm taking a wait-and-see approach for this console. I'm kind of looking at that November window because that's right around the time Mario Odyssey comes out, and I want to see kind of what they do between now and then. So, that's where I'm at
because
on it right now.
if you actually look at the releases, we have the original 5 coming out on launch day. Then you have Mario Kart 8 28th, ARMS Spring 2017, which looks complete shit. Splatoon 2 looks kind of cool. Fire Emblem Warriors Holiday. Pokemon Stars Holiday. Super Mario Odyssey Holiday. And Xenoblade Chronicles. They're saying Holiday, but according to some sources, it won't be until 2018. First quarter 2018. Now, that's just first party. Now, what I find interesting is there's a slew of games that have been announced with non-concrete release dates. A lot of them. And it's kind of exciting because there's a lot of games on that list that I've been holding out. I haven't been playing. I haven't bought on the PSN or anything. So I'm looking at it like you, Jay. I'm on the outside. I'm gonna let it blow over, and maybe if they're available in November, December time, maybe like a family gift for me and the kids, maybe. because the actual the first person titles aren't grabbing me. Like Zelda's cool, but I'm not gonna go out and buy it for Zelda. So, is there any third party games you guys are looking toward? Because we got like shit like I Am Setsuna, which has been out for a while now. It's coming out to the 3DS. Another one I'm super excited for is Shovel Knight, Jay. I have not played Shovel Knight, and I probably won't play it until I eventually get the Switch. Now we got Dragon Quest, 3 different types of Dragon Quest coming out, which I am super excited for. Ultra Street Fighter 2. Let me some Street Fighter. I don't know how well the D-pads are going to work.
Hey, Mike. On this list of games that you're talking about, how many of these are new games, though? Like, that's my question.
Not very many. Oh, well, you got all the Dragon Quest games are new. The Ultra Street Fighter 2 is supposed to be completely remodeled from the ground up for the Switch. Now, you bring up a good point. I mean, none of them are... Well, I mean, these are all third party. And at the end of the day, third party is what's going to matter.
If you're going to... Yeah, and if you're going to justify a new console, like, hey, you must purchase this console because it's the only place to play this new game, there's not a whole lot of games on that list. Like, how many people are, up in arms about playing, ARMS? No pun intended there, but, that game looks like trash. I keep going back to Zelda. That's a game that can be played on Wii U. They're not given a whole lot of incentive to go purchase this because you cannot play it anywhere else. Xenoblade Chronicles looks dope. That's a game that I definitely have my eyes on. That's something that'll sell me the console. A little hidden gem that was in that conference that not too many people are looking at is that Octopath Traveler's game. Did you see that one, Mike?
I've heard of it, but I didn't refresh my memory on it.
Yeah, it's a smaller indie game, and it kind of has like a really pixelated, that 8-bit look to it, but it kind of has like a cel-shaded texture to it, and it weirdly is 3D with being on a 2D plane, so I don't know if you can kind of grasp what I'm trying to say there, but it has a really cool art style, and I like the color palettes they're using. It gives me a Bloodborne vibe to it. There was some good stuff in this conference, but I just don't think they got the games right now that justify.
I just realized what you're talking about. You're talking about the Square Enix, Super Nintendo style RPG. Yeah. The game looks really cool, but I mean that still has no release date. That's to be announced, and.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, you bring up a good point. Are you in agreement here, Pedro, with the games? I mean, he brings up a solid point of none of them are, really Switch games. They're all multi-platform games.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with the Switch is that they're not really... Like, this isn't a Microsoft or a Sony where they're saying, we got the best games on our platforms. Nintendo's really just telling you they're giving you a different way to play. So they're not really telling you the best games, we're going to give you the most innovative games. No, this is a different way to play the games. So that's really what they're doing, is providing you with a different way.
Can I hit on that? Who else is doing the same exact thing that has a new console out that's around that same price point?
You got me.
PlayStation, bro. PSVR is giving you a new way to play. They're giving you games that you can't find anywhere else. And I myself was taking a wait-and-see approach on PSVR, just like I have been the Switch. So what I told myself is I want to see what this Switch reveal is all about before I decide where to spend my money. And after watching that Switch reveal, if it did anything, it brought me closer to really thinking about buying a PSVR over the Nintendo Switch. But now I'm kind of like in limbo with both of them because PSVR came out, and I don't want to, get too derailed, but it's kind of like it came out, it fizzled, and then it's already starting to go away. And that was a big, question mark when it came to virtual reality. Is this going to be the future? And like I see the Nintendo Switch kind of being the same way. Is it going to come out? People buy it because of Zelda, and then it just goes away.
Well, first of all, the PSVR is trash. The only thing that keeps PSVR in the minds of people who are talking VR is the price. Look at the game. Look at the PlayStation VR games. Batman Arkham Asylum is one of the best games on there, and it's only 2.5 hours. Does that justify spending an extra $300 to buy the VR system for one game that's an hour and a half? It's the Switch and the VR is a little different. I do understand what you're saying, though. I mean, because it's untreaded water and it's Nintendo, so you kind of have to be on the fence with this until you pull the trigger. That's just the way it's going to be. I mean, because to be quite honest with you, we can move right on to the next topic and talk about pre-order, because I can tell you right now, I'm not pre-ordering this shit. It has a lot of cool ideas. It has a lot of games possibly coming out for it. I'll keep my eye on it, but I'm definitely not pre-ordering this at all. Now, hearing your side, Jay, are you going to pre-order it, or are you just going to let it completely fizzle out and hopefully get one holiday season?
Like, the big pusher for me was how well the handheld version of this console was going to work, how the battery life was. Is this going to be a console that I can actually take on the go with me? Because for me, that's the driving force. You know, that's something that I've always been looking for. You know, a handheld console that'll give me the AAA experience on the go. And I think, you know, as bad as I've talked about the Switch this whole podcast, because I feel like I really have, that's not my overall opinion of the console. I think it looks great. I think they had a bad conference. In terms of pre-ordering it, I'm going to give it another couple weeks to really kind of make my decision. But I'm kind of leaning towards pre-ordering it right now, because I do think that it's something that I will get tons of enjoyment out of. I think playing Zelda out on the road, you know, when I'm on my lunch break, it's just something that I can't turn an eye to. And I think that the console looks great. Do I think that it's going to be something that's enough to turn Nintendo around? No, I don't. But we'll see.
All right, Pedro, I know you've been biting your tongue, bro. Let them have it, man. Let your feelings out.
I mean, I feel like everyone thinks that I'm about to go on like this huge rant about why we shouldn't get the Nintendo Switch, and to the contrary, man. I'm seriously contemplating come next payday to just pay it off and pay the $300 and then, you know, pre-order Zelda and experience Zelda again. I haven't played a Zelda game since Wind Waker.
Wow.
So I mean, I've got that game got me a little excited. I mean, I know I didn't say much in the games section, but I mean, I'm a little excited for Mario 2, although I don't think it's gonna come out in 2017 since they don't even know a date for it yet. Holiday 2017.
Yeah.
Sounds like holiday 2017 if the game is ready. If it's not, early 2018.
Which is fine.
Is what that's sounding to me.
Which is fine. I mean, take your time. I mean, Nintendo does first party as well, so don't rush it. I mean, because at the end of the day, 80% of the time, 90% of the time, they're good. But you're actually gonna pre-order this, bro? You're actually contemplating pre-ordering this, guys? You heard it first here on the Square Gamers, bro. Pedro is gonna pre-order something.
I'm definitely gonna pre-order this. I mean, it's gonna have a shortage. It's definitely gonna be in super high demand. Mario Kart 8 is the whatever they're calling it.
Deluxe
is gonna be dope. Super Bomberman, I've heard nothing but good things about. I mean, NBA 2K18 seems interesting to play. I'm interested in it. I'm gonna take the plunge and invest in this console, and hopefully Nintendo proves me right. I mean, I'm having a real hard time about this because theoretically I should only be making one console purchase this year, and that's the Xbox Scorpio. But this is this Nintendo, what I've seen after the press conferences. And kind of what I've read is really enticing me to make this the second console purchase of the year. So, because I've already mentally given Microsoft $500-$600 of my money, depending on whatever the Scorpio costs. So I mean, this is to me right now the biggest hurdle is, do I want to spend the money on a Switch? And as of right now, I'll give it a shot. Why not? I mean, it's $300. It is pretty expensive, but like if I play it for a week and I don't like it, I'm gonna bank on the fact that there is going to be a shortage, and I can just put that right back in the box and resell it,
Or sell it to me
for what I bought it for and break even.
Because you know what's gonna happen. I'm not gonna pre-order it, and when I go to buy it, they're not gonna be in stock. And you'll be like, "Hey, Mike, guess what, bro? I'm done with the Switch. Here, $300 is yours." That's just how it's gonna work, bro. I'm calling it now.
That's what you wish will happen, but probably not.
Yeah, and I got a question to both of you guys. Mike, you answer it first, followed by Pedro. But the question I have is, do you think that this is going to be a console that we see the hardcore Nintendo fans pick up, and that's why there's that shortage up front? But do you think that once the hardcore fans grab this, pick it up, do you think that you see it fading away, or do you think that this console is going to thrive? Mike, I'm throwing that question.
To be honest with you, the way I'm feeling is the hardcore fans are going to buy it no matter what. For the simple reason that
Right.
if they come through with their promises and allow backwards compatibility with certain games from the 3DS to the Switch, those hardcore fans that are playing Monster Hunter right now, get a Monster Hunter on the Switch, or get announced a Monster Hunter on the Switch, you're damn straight they're buying it, because at the end of the day, a lot of those handheld gamers are playing those handheld games because they love Pokemon Sun and Moon. How much better will it be on a screen on a couch? Like literally looking at a 40-inch screen. I don't think that's going to be. I think the hardcore fans are going to buy it no matter what. What solidifies Nintendo's place in the market is how many people who are on the fence swing toward their side. Because the hardcore gamers, I mean, how many hardcore gamers actually handheld game? And that's the only thing that bothers me about this thing. If they can grab them, they can pull out ahead as far as, their own standings within the company. Just because, where they're at right now, they need this. They need this to do well. They need it, they need to come through with their promises, which I'll bring it up now. During an interview, Reggie got asked, okay, you promised us third-party support with the Wii U. How can you guarantee us third-party support with the Switch? And Reggie hit him with an ill misdirection, bro. Hit him with an ill misdirection and kind of answered it in a sly way. But it's a pretty good analogy way he said it. Okay, third parties want three things. They want a growing customer base, which the Switch we'll see. We'll see if it can grow. 2, they want to be able to monetize and sell DLC or the initial purchase. So basically, if they don't see any more income after the game release, and then 3, they want to be the publishers and game developers are looking for the ease of use. And apparently, Reggie said everything's nailed down. Apparently, with the Wii U, they couldn't guarantee the actual monetization of the games. So, if all goes well, the Switch will do well. Third parties will put out games alongside their counterparts with their own little, I don't want to say the word gimmick, but their own little switchinivity, is I'll call it from now on. The thing that, is different, that sets it apart from the other consoles. So, I mean, that's my opinion. I mean, if they can grab the people who aren't hardcore fans of Nintendo and grab some hardcore gamers to play some games on the go and also benefit it by playing it on the dock, Nintendo will succeed.
Yeah, let me cut in right here because there's this tweet going around that has a lot of people concerned about third-party support, and a huge game on not only the 360 generation of consoles, but also on the PS4 consoles as well. That game being Borderlands, it's a humongous game. So many people bought that. Well, Randy Pitchford was asked by a fan of the Borderlands series if the next installment of Borderlands was going to be on the Nintendo Switch. And he said, quote, "I do not see that as happening. We are talking to Nintendo, but that stopped for some reason. They have other priorities." So it's these types of things going on that has me concerned, because this console is gonna live or die on the games, and if they can't lock down these games like Borderlands 3, that is a humongous problem. Do you agree with that, Pedro?
I do completely. I feel like Reggie is saying all of the right things, though, and they weren't said in the presentation, so we kind of have to get bits and pieces from news outlets, or whether or not when he does interviews. Is this console gonna be a flash in the pan where the hardcore nostalgic Nintendo fans come for Zelda and Mario, and then once it gets in the hands of every one of those people, it kind of fades away? No, I don't think so at all. I think that this is going to Reggie said that this is going to continue long into 2018, 2019. They have a plan to make sure that there are compelling exclusive games that will tempt people to stick with the Nintendo Switch and purchase it later on. So I'm gonna take his word for it, and hopefully they deliver, to be honest with you. Now I will say, for one thing that Mike said, I'm not very happy with the switchinivity, whatever he tried to coin there. Number one, that word, we need to work on it. Don't worry about it. We'll talk about that off the podcast. We'll figure something out. Two, don't ruin fucking games with Switch shit. Don't do it. Don't ruin fucking Madden or NBA 2K18 with some dumbass the Nintendo Switch Joy-Con controllers have these special or have individual vibration sensors. So now it'll sense if how hard you're shooting the ball, and it'll use the gyro in the controller for you to be able to shoot the ball. No, I don't want any of that. Just give me traditional gameplay.
But Pedro, I want 3 ice cubes in my drink, bro. 3 ice cubes.
I don't care about any of that
AC
shit.
Rumble, guys.
Just give me regular gameplay on the go. That's why I'm buying the Switch, is so I could, go, like you say, go to work and on my lunch break, play 720p NBA 2K18 and continue my season. I don't want any of that other shit that Mike wants. All right? Don't cater to Mike, guys, because if you cater to Mike, you lose. Because people like me aren't buying your shit.
Before we bring this thing to a close, guys, over on our Facebook group, which everybody should join, by the way, head over to Facebook under the group section, look for the Square Gamers. Daniel Rosario, he's one of our veterans over there. He posts a lot. He had a couple of concerns, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw this to you guys on a case-by-case basis. We're going to talk these points out real quick. Mike, you get the first one. Danny is worried about the pricing on the controllers and the peripherals, so let's tackle that one first. So the Pro Controller, what they announced that thing? What is it, $60 for the Pro Controller?
$70.
$70. That's outrageous, right? Is that just weird? Does that not seem outrageous?
My wallet hurts thinking about it.
I'm buying the Nikon version.
And then there's the Joy-Cons, which are what, $40 a piece, right?
Yeah.
And to me that seems a little extreme. Like, so the peripherals, like buying any kind of extra controllers for this system is going to be brutal. And I know you guys are probably like me. I'm gonna want that Pro Controller out of the gate. If I'm playing like a major AAA title, I want the controls to control like a game should. So I'm gonna want that controller. So to swallow that $70 purchase is not something
it's
that
not. I mean,
I'm
it's not
ready
completely
for.
justified. I mean, you don't need to go out and buy it because you have the Joy-Con extension controller. So I mean, you don't have to buy it.
But listen, Mike, I like my traditional controller. And back in the day, the three of us sat down and did a podcast together. And Pedro said one of his major concerns about this console was the controls. Pedro, if you were just to play this console with the packed-in controller, are you happy with it?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I mean, and that's something that I have to think about, because it doesn't come with a controller for a person with average hands. This is, Mike's daughters will be happy playing with the Joy-Cons, not, adult males such as the three of us.
I mean, but you
Hashtag
you also have
Trump
to cater in the fact that up until we have the shit in our hands, we can't make past judgment, because what if the actual Joy-Con extension controller is actually comfortable? So,
right. Wait and see approach,
well, I mean,
like I've been saying the whole time. Pedro, Mr. Tech Man, the second issue that he had was that he says that Nintendo is dumb for limiting the console to 32 gigs of internal memory. And then he goes on to say, it's 2017, for Christ's sake. Hit on that. What do you think about that?
For sure, man. I mean, any smart device that still has 32 or 16 gigabytes internal memory is, I mean, they're in the past. There's no way that you should release a smart device, and when I say smart device, I mean a phone or a tablet, with less than 64 gigs of internal memory. Again, that this is a clear cost-cutting move by Nintendo to keep the cost at $300, so they can make sure that they hit that sweet price point, and to entice people to buy it. Because honestly, if you think about it, to get a complete console the way that us as gamers require, we would have to purchase we would have to spend another $70 for a micro SD card, right? So that's $370 right there. Let's say the Joy-Con controllers are super small, or people are just like, forget it, I'm just gonna go with the Pro anyway because I like the way the Pro controller felt for the Wii U, and that's very similar, so I'm just gonna buy it, right? That's another $70. At that point,
$140.
Yeah, you're at $140 extra. I mean, it's an ingenious plan by Nintendo to give us, bare bones memory, and then telling us, well, you can't do SDXC, and then go ahead and spend $70 on a 256 or a 128 gigabyte SD card.
Yeah, they're like deferring that cost onto the consumer, which isn't cool, and I think it's being overlooked. So he's right there.
But think about it, guys. I'm going to bring this up. Jay, Vita. What SD card did you have to use for the Vita?
A shitty one that cost a
that
fucking
you could only use
fortune.
Sony micro SDs, right? You couldn't use regular SDs. You had to buy a Sony SD card,
right,
which was, for a 32 gig SD card, it was $40. You understand what I'm saying? They're, I mean, and right, you guys also have to look at it this way: storage size compared to game size. Now, granted, this is, a better version of the game, like 3DS games. The average 3DS game is only about a gig big. So if you upscale that, you double that, that's 2 gigs. On the internal memory card, 32 gigs, 12 gigs is going to be for system data, let's just say. So you have a 20 gigs. So if what I'm saying is correct, we're talking a good 10 games stored onto one SD card. So technically, $300 out the gate is comparable if those are in place. So if the games are only 2 gigs big.
No, the fuck it's not, bro. Stop it. I'm gonna stop you right there, man. Stop with the apologist talk It's not that, bro, because we know for a fact that the number one game people are paying the $300 to play is 13 gigs. That's 40%
really?
of the goddamn memory. Let's not do this,
really?
bro. Let's not go ahead and say, well, if we do 3DS games and we double them and then we do this and then nah, man. Let's talk about the games that are out there. It's 13 gigs for the number one game that everybody wants to play on the Switch. It's 40% of the internal memory. It's bullshit. Shouldn't be done. End of story.
Yeah. It's a hidden cost that, Nintendo is kind of bullishly kind of just, tossing off to the side. And again, it's something that you will have to purchase. An SD card you will not get by very long without purchasing that SD card. Now, I don't want to dwell on that too long because we got more to unpack here. Mike, I'm going to shoot this one to you first. He says that they're dumb for not including 1-2 Switch game inside the box for free.
Fuck that. I'm not playing that shit. I don't need it in a box. I'm not playing 1-2 Switch.
That's the shorthand version. Pedro, what do you think?
I agree. They needed a pack-in game. Xbox and PlayStation come with a pack-in game. That bullshit excuse of, well, we didn't want to make it $359.99. That's terrible. That's a first-party game. You guys could take the hit.
I don't know. I don't care for it.
You don't care for it. Pedro, he says, you're dumb for not considering paid subscription service. What do you think about that?
The paid subscription service is always going to be an extra cost. They had to come with the times. Nintendo, I applaud them for doing a paid subscription service. What Nintendo's really dumb for is for saying, hey, you guys are going to get a free game a month with our subscription service. But then after the month's over, you can't play that game no more. You're going to have to buy it. That's what's wrong with that service. Terrible. If they're making me pay $60 a year for that type of service, bro, they're not getting my money.
Yeah. He says that it should be account-driven and not hardware, and I agree with that 100%. Mike, what do you think on that?
I mean, I kind of agree. I mean, I don't like the fact that you're basically renting the game. That's basically what you're doing, and it's I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, and to wrap this thing up, he says that all this said, the first party showing looks phenomenal. Nintendo's are masters of pulling off the best out of the weaker hardware. Pedro, unpack that. What do you think? Do you agree?
Absolutely. I mean, Wii U games look great. To a point, Splatoon was one of the best looking games of this generation. And, I mean, it was on a much, much weaker console. Mario Kart.
And Mario Kart 8.
Yep, Mario Kart.
You were just going to say it. Look at that.
So, I mean, Super Smash Brothers, another game that looks great. I mean, they do great, bro. You know what? You know what they are? They're the New England Patriots of video games, man. They don't have many big names. They don't do, all of this razzle dazzle stuff. They just make good games that play well and they're smooth. They don't need updates out of the box. Like, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I want to try to invest in Nintendo is to promote games that are properly made.
That's a good point.
Yeah, and like to wrap up his whole spiel, he says he can't wait, and I feel like that's how, like the three of us, we all kind of feel the same way. We have issues with this console, no doubt, and maybe that's just a sign of the times. Since we have so many offerings now, maybe we can be gripey about wanting this or wanting that, and maybe there is no such thing as the perfect console. Technically, that does exist. It's called a PC if you want to spend that kind of money. That being said, price point is a major issue here, and I think that that's something that we should close on because that's not something that we have fully addressed. $300, in my opinion, I think it is like literally the perfect price point. It gives Nintendo some wiggle room, and if they actually wanted to, I think this holiday season they could run a Black Friday sale either leave it 300 and have a pack-in game, or you can go 250 and get competitive and steal some of those Microsoft Scorpio sales away. And shoot that to you, Pedro. What do you think on the price?
We did a prediction here. I think I said it would be 250, and then it might even be 199 on sale. The Nvidia equivalent of what the Switch is 199. Just for anybody wondering. So I think that it may go to 250 sooner rather than later if we see it failing. And may even dip to the 199 point if it really get desperate. Like if Mario comes out, right, and Mario doesn't help save sales, it's going down to 199 by this point next year.
And that's a very enticing price, man. So that's a pretty good prediction, actually. I hope they don't have to get there, but
well, I mean,
that's
you guys,
the way it goes.
Mike, you guys
bring it
are
home,
talking
man.
about sales. Fuck, don't worry about. We don't need to worry about sales. We need to be worried about Nintendo keeping the stocks full, because fucking we know how they've done in the past, to where they manufacture a very little amount of the consoles, sell out, and then like, well, you gotta wait 2 months for the next shipment. Like, that's what we should be more concerned about, because at $299, that's a hell of a price. Just make sure you keep it on the shelves. Don't fucking control the market.
No artificial scarcity. Yeah, no artificial scarcity. Not this time, Nintendo. Come on, keep this thing in stock. Make sure that whoever wants to purchase one can find it easy, because that's what's going to make third-party developers, excited. As this thing sells, those third-party developers are going to take notice. And, one thing about this console is the fact that it does have motion sensing controllers, and that's something that they're going to have to develop for. So you need to give them some incentive to do so. So this console better sell well. So you better have it in fucking stock. Nintendo.
Just like, we've always said, Nintendo is really bad at that. So, here at the Square Gamers, I mean, we're very on the fencey about this. We have our concerns. We're also super excited. So make sure you guys go down to the Facebook group / the Square Gamers and voice your opinions, along with our brother Daniel Rosario, he's always posting over there. And he brought up the ending topic, which is freaking super deep and interesting points that we all need to talk about. Also, make sure you go to our YouTube channel where we're putting all kinds of crazy content, and then check out Twitch, where we have actually Jay gonna try to plan Mad Max. Now, I'm not a big fan of Mad Max, but I will be watching some of his streams to see how terrible that game is. No offense, Jay, I love you, but I don't know how you play that game. And guys,
Hey, I was gonna shout that out at the very end. Yeah, twitch.com / the Square Gamers. Check out my new show I'm doing. It's called Maxin' and Relaxin'. Full disclosure, I've already beat the game, so this isn't, oh, watch me beat this game. This is me trying to achieve my first platinum trophy of all time. I've already looked over the trophy list. I got 31 trophies left to obtain. It's not going to be easy, but I think it's going to be fun. So check that out, guys.
Well, guys, peace out, and we'll talk to you next week.
Later.
Peace.